Hi, I'm a prince, and I'm the protagonist of this story. They asked me to give you some details before we can start our adventure. What protagonist? If the player will decide to stay on anyone's side, it will be mine. I've got a lot of money. What a pathetic situation. Why don't you try to earn the player's respect? Such a shame. Hey, no one is a protagonist here. Why are you fighting already? Elisa, I didn't know you were here. You are absolutely right. My dear Elisa, let's ignore these fools. Stay with me. I want to finish my speech. No. I think it's time for me to go. Always the same. Hey, we're here too. What are you doing? You two don't have a part in our prequel. You will need to wait for the final game to be complete. Elisa, don't go. Oh, too bad. Thanks for playing our game. You are about to read the adventure of the bad guys I have just introduced. With your support, maybe we will be able to tell you the whole story with voice acting and animations. Have fun and enjoy our prequel. The air smelled like the wood does in the spring, and a faint scent of flowers seemed to soothe the whole room. The inn was warm, hearty. Elisa, the innkeeper, was never-endingly busy running back and forth between her clients, and if she ever stopped for a minute, it was to clean up after a client that left. At that moment, the prince sat in front of the bar, was seemingly lost in thought, his gaze fixated on her. Dang, she's so beautiful. Every time I see her, I fall in love again, just like the first time, he whispered to himself while taking a sip from his beer. The girl, who up until that point was in front of him, noticed that her only client was staring at her and decided to get a bit closer, leaning forward to clean up that part of the bar. Have I ever told you that I live in a castle? Still busy cleaning, she leaned on the bar, which was still wet. The prince could start seeing through her shirt. Oh, really? You never told me. So I assume you are some kind of nobleman? Full of himself, the young man rose from his stool. I am without a doubt one of the most worthy between those who bear this title. Smiling, the innkeeper instinctively paused and turned to her guest. Resting her head on her hands, she looked interested. Do you mean that you are not like the other nobles around? Wow, you can see everything from this angle. Of course not. Who do you think I am? I've seen many nobles come and go at my inn. However, you are the most fascinating young man in here now. The room was actually empty, aside from the two. So, what do you have more than others? The prince took a deep breath. Did she really say those words? He swallowed his whole glass of beer. I own the most majestic castle in all of Florence. And what else? She is so close that I can smell her. Her scent is so sensual. I've never found such a smell. I would love to caress her. Should I try to? Maybe I should. Suddenly, a weird feeling overwhelmed him. I believe it's time for you to wake up. What? You should wake up now. The image of the innkeeper, which at first was crystal clear and beautiful as a rose on a warm spring morning, started fading while the tone of her voice seemed to lose intensity. Such a shame. Beautiful things don't last long, indeed. The prince woke up slightly dazed. Just a dream, he thought, sorely disappointed, as he brought a hand to his forehead and tried to stand up from his lying position. My head hurts really bad. What could I have ever done last night? He looked around and saw broken glasses, bottles, plates, which are pretty easy clues. Have I been robbed? He sluggishly muttered. Had it really been a burglary, he would have been left naked, as expensive his clothes were. What could have possibly happened? I feel so sick. This room has a weird smell. The windows were closed and the drapes shut so that the sunlight barely entered the room, and despite the silence, the prince's head kept hurting really bad. The only thing I remember is how tired I was as I went to bed, but I do not recognize this place. I should be in another inn. Ouch, thinking is not helping. I think I will need some more sleep. Nausea and a headache are definitely not best friends when one wants to use his head. Moreover, it is really hard to give up such a nice dream. The sun had risen only a few hours ago. Why should someone suffer to wake up so early in the morning? Especially if he does not need a job to earn a living. No, I can't really do this. It's impossible to go back to sleep. There's a disgusting stench in here. Deeply disturbed by the smell and the filth in the room, the prince couldn't help but feel shocked at the mess inside. Usually, any displaced item is enough to make me lose my sleep. Whatever could have happened? In truth, that wasn't really a good time to fall back asleep. Such memory lapses should really not be neglected. Maybe I'm worrying too much about it, he said to himself, trying to ignore the pulsing pain in his head and the nausea. Still, it's probably a good idea to take a look around. The room was a pigsty, hazardous even, with all the shattered plates and glasses. Moreover, some of the chairs were turned over, the fireplace was spouting ashes on the floor, and the bed sheets were on the floor. First of all, let's open the window. I don't think I can bear this stench anymore. So he opened the window and lingered there for a moment to take a deep breath of fresh air while he was thinking back to the dream he just had. I was definitely dreaming about something interesting. What was it though? The white, wet curtains the prince was leaning on reminded him of the dream that he thought he'd forgotten 1 second ago. Of course, now I recall, I was dreaming about Elisa. Now that I think of it, yesterday afternoon, after speaking with the merchant, I wanted to go see her. He slowly buttoned up his vest as he focused his thoughts on reconstructing the recent events. Now I remember. I was arguing with that merchant for the sale of my castle, when at some point we decided to walk towards this inn to wrap up the business. When everything got settled, we started drinking, and then I can't remember anything else. A worrying feeling of anxiety filled the mind of the young man who kept brooding about his memory lapses about the past night. What if that blasted merchant made me sign that deal? In panic, he started rummaging around to find his clothes, which were strewn across the room. I can't see any bags filled with gold on the table. Drunk as I was, for what I can remember, I could have even gifted my castle away! After a few minutes, his clothes started to pop up, scattered in every corner of the room as they had been hidden. It was actually quite an effort to collect them. Somehow, his gloves managed to end up in the furthest corner under the bed. Stretching as much as he could, the prince extended his hand and felt something other than his gloves. He was certain he'd heard a faint metallic sound. Maybe a coin? What's this? His hope was to find some gold. However, as he moved the sheets away, the only thing he managed to see under the shadow of the bed was a silver blade. He sighed, and with some precautions, he pulled out what was by all accounts a sword. What is this doing here? He asked himself, while wielding the object and looking for more details. A sword? Why would a sword be in my room? The blade was completely made of silver, his hilt covered with brown cloth. It looked more like a decoration than a weapon. The prince was tense and hesitated. Alright, I believe I'll take it with me. If someone was so foolish that they left it behind, their loss. He shrugged and smiled. He turned and immediately saw the scabbard leaning on the wall. With the state this room is in, I'm not sure I should walk down to pay. It'll cost me a fortune to compensate for all this damage. I think it'd be better to just leave here a few coins and get out quickly. Calmly, he fastened his belt just right and sheathed the sword with care to avoid damaging it. Great, time to go.